former Assad forces officially surrender weapons to Syria ruling authority. Bus and truck collide in Brazil, horrific tragedy. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. My name is Daryl Baptist and you're watching World Today. Members of former deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's army and security forces queued outside a building in Damascus on Saturday to hand over their weapons and begin settlement procedures under the supervision of members of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, now the de facto ruling authority. The men and women also returned state-issued valuables and other items as part of a reconciliation process aimed at reintegrating Assad's forces in the new Syria. Participants received temporary cards valid for 3 months, while their status is reviewed. Those without criminal charges would be allowed to resume normal civilian life. Syrian opposition forces seized control of Damascus on 8th December, forcing Assad to flee after more than 13 years of civil war and ending his family's decades-long rule. The sweep ended a war that killed hundreds of thousands, caused one of the biggest refugee crises of modern times, and left cities bombed to rubble. Forces under the command of Ahmad al-Sharaa, better known as Abu Muhammad al-Golani, installed a 3-month caretaker government that had been ruling a rebel enclave in Syria's northwestern province of Idlib. Qatar reopened its embassy in Damascus yesterday, 13 years after it was closed early in Syria's civil conflict, as foreign governments seek to establish ties with the country's new rulers. It becomes the second nation after Turkey to officially reopen its embassy since opposition forces drove President Bashar al-Assad from power earlier this month. Unlike several other Arab governments, Qatar, which supported opposition groups during Syria's civil war, did not attempt to rehabilitate Assad before his toppling. Doha sent a diplomatic delegation to Damascus several days ago to meet with the transitional government. The European Union also earlier said it was ready to reopen its diplomatic mission in Damascus, while Britain, France and the United States have all sent delegations to the Syrian capital since Assad's overthrow. The French flag was raised over Paris's embassy in Damascus on Tuesday, although the country's special envoy to Syria said the mission would remain closed as long as security criteria are not met. The Palestinian Civil Defense Rescue Agency reported that an Israeli airstrike has killed 12 members of a family, including 7 children, in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, or UNRWA, Senior Emergency Officer Louis Wateridge also warned that Gaza has become a graveyard as heavy winter rains, hunger, dire living conditions and ongoing hostilities continue to endanger lives. A video posted by the agency on its Telegram channel showed its staff retrieving victims from under the rubble of the Kala family home in Jabalia. Civil Defense spokesman Mahmoud Bazal said the air raid injured 15 other people. Pope Francis on Saturday also condemned the bombing of children in Gaza as cruelty. Israel continued its attacks across the Gaza Strip over the weekend, more than 14 months into its assault on Gaza. At least 8 people were killed by a drone missile that hit a residential building in the market street of Nusayrat refugee camp. 4 people were also killed in an air raid on Beit Hanun. According to authorities, the victims were 2 girls and their parents. The bodies of 3 brothers were also retrieved from the rubble of a bombed home near Kamal Adwan Hospital. We now move to Europe, where Hungary has defended itself on Saturday after Poland accused it of committing a hostile act when granting asylum to a former Polish minister under investigation over accusations of misuse of public funds. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said the decision to grant asylum to former Polish Deputy Justice Minister Marcin Romanowski was based on a thorough procedure.
Ez egy vaskos, alapos tanulmány, ami számba vesz, hogy mi történik most ott. Az a miniszter, akinek joga van dönteni a menekültügy kérdésében, ezeket a tanulmányokat megismerte, és ezek alapján döntött. A döntésünk nem ismeretlen, ez egy nemzetközileg ismert jogintézmény, és azzal sem árulok el nagy titkot, ha azt mondom, hogy nem hiszem, hogy ez volt az utolsó.
Romanowski was detained in a probe into the misuse of public funds and released in July after the president of a European Rights Assembly said he had immunity as a member of the body. He denies the accusations against him. Poland said the asylum was contrary to European Union principles and summoned the Hungarian ambassador to the foreign ministry in Warsaw to hand him a formal protest note. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk's government says it has opened the way for prosecutors to investigate wrongdoing under Poland's previous Nationalist Law and Justice, or PIS, government, which left office in 2023 that would previously have been covered up. Polish opposition lawmakers, including Romanowski, have also accused Tusk's government of engaging in a politically motivated witch hunt. Over in the United States, President-elect Donald Trump said on Saturday that he had selected the producer of his long-running reality television show, The Apprentice, to be his administration's special envoy to the United Kingdom. Mark Burnett, 64, created the show, which made Trump internationally famous for firing a succession of contestants vying for roles in his businesses. The British native also created or produced Survivor, Shark Tank and other shows, and was the chairman of MGM Worldwide Television Group. Trump had previously selected businessman Warren Stevens to be his ambassador to the UK. Britain's government on Friday named Peter Mandelson as its new ambassador to the US, with a mission of wooing Trump, avoiding a trade war and keeping the two countries aligned over Ukraine. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump said Burnett would work to enhance diplomatic relations and focus on trade investment opportunities and cultural exchanges. The United States Congress passed spending legislation early on Saturday in a down-to-the-wire burst of activity that averted a government shutdown ahead of the busy holiday travel season. In an 85-11 vote, the Democratic-controlled Senate passed the bill to continue government funding 38 minutes after it expired at midnight. The government did not invoke shutdown procedures in the interim.
Very pleased that we're on the verge of passing.
The bill will now be sent to White House, where President Joe Biden will sign it into law. The package had earlier cleared the Republican-controlled House of Representatives with bipartisan support. Last-minute legislative wrangling was brought about by incoming President Donald Trump, who, along with influential billionaire Elon Musk, pressured Republicans to abandon an earlier bipartisan funding compromise. Lawmakers then spent several days trying to hammer out another deal, with massive halts to government services hanging in the balance. With the Friday midnight deadline already expired by minutes, senators dropped normal procedure to fast-track the new package to a vote, funding the government to mid-March. We now travel to North Korea, where leader Kim Jongun called to step up developments of the country's industrial production in regions outside Pyongyang to strengthen rural economies. State-run television KRT reported on Saturday that Kim called for the modernization of regional manufacturing facilities, improvements in agriculture, and to come up with clear results every year, regardless of conditions. Kim was speaking at a ceremony for new production facilities in Songcheon County, northeast of Pyongyang, in which he participated in ribbon cutting and toured manufacturing rooms for products such as soy sauce and bean paste. South Korea's statistics agency said that last year, North Korea's nominal gross domestic product, or GDP, stood at 40.2 trillion won, equivalent to about 27.86 billion US dollars, which was just 1.7% that of South Korea's 2,401.2 trillion won. The agency also said North Korea's GDP had shrunk from 3 straight years since 2020 during the pandemic, when the country shut its borders, and only rebounded last year. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Ethiopia on Saturday and was welcomed by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, marking his first visit to the region in 5 years. During the visit, Ahmed expressed the desire by Ethiopia, a landlocked country, to access the Red Sea and highlighted the need for Macron's support in its endeavor as talks continue between Somalia and Ethiopia, mediated by Turkey. During a news conference, Macron called Ethiopia's request to access the Red Sea legitimate and encouraged dialogue to bring peace to the region. Somalia and Ethiopia fell out earlier this year after the Ethiopians announced plans to build a port in Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland, which has struggled to gain international recognition despite governing itself and enjoying comparative peace and stability since declaring independence in 1991. Somalia is firmly opposed to Somaliland's independence bid. Landlocked Ethiopia said it would officially recognize Somaliland's independence in exchange for a strategic strip of land near where the Red Sea meets the Indian Ocean. Up next, at least 13 people killed in Nigeria stampedes. Tragic news, I'm afraid. A packed bus collided with a truck and burst into flames on Saturday in Brazil, killing more than 30 people. According to authorities, the bus departed from São Paulo and was headed to the state of Bahia. After removing all of the victims from a major highway near the town of Teofilo Otoni in Minas Gerais, the state's fire department reported that of the 45 people on the bus, 38, including the bus driver, had been confirmed dead. The other passengers remained in critical condition after being transported to a local hospital. The fire department said the truck driver fled the scene, and 3 occupants of a car that collided with the truck and became trapped underneath survived the accident. The department added that a forensic investigation would be required to determine the cause of the accident, with differing accounts from witness testimonies. Initially, firefighters reported the bus had a tire blowout, causing the driver to lose control before colliding at around 4 a.m. local time with an oncoming truck on the BR-116 Federal Highway, a major route connecting Brazil's densely populated southeast to the poorer northeast. However, witnesses also reported that a granite block the truck was transporting came loose, fell on the road, and caused the collision with the bus. In another horrible incident, at least 13 people, including 4 children, have been killed in 2 incidents in Nigeria as large crowds gathered to collect food and clothing distributed at annual Christmas events. In the capital, Abuja, at least 10 people died on Saturday and many more were injured in a scramble to receive gifts of charity being distributed by the Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Maitama district. In a separate incident in Okija, in Anambra State in southern Nigeria, state police said at least 3 people were killed in a crush at a charity event organized by a philanthropist. In both incidents, the victims were mostly women and children who were trampled as crowds tried to reach the provisions being offered. On Thursday, at least 32 people died in a similar incident at an Islamic high school in Ibadan, the capital of southwestern Nigeria's Oyo State. Africa's most populous country is enduring its worst cost of living crisis in decades as reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu have slashed subsidies for electricity and fuel, while a devaluation has eroded the value of its currency. Inflation in November rose to 34.6% in annual terms from 33.88% in October, marking a third consecutive monthly rise. More sad news, this time from Germany, as authorities have identified a Saudi man as the suspected driver in a car-ramming attack at the Christmas market in Magdeburg, which killed 5 people. Authorities said the motive was not yet clear and that investigations into the suspect's social media posts were still ongoing. The Friday evening attack suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi psychiatrist who has lived in Germany for almost 2 decades, was arrested at the scene, ending a bloody attack that injured hundreds in just 3 minutes. The motive remained unclear, and police have not yet named the suspect. However, he has been named in German media as Talib. A police official said the driver exploited emergency exit points to slowly navigate the vehicle towards the market before picking up speed and ploughing into the crowd. A 9-year-old child and 4 adults were killed in the attack. Magdeburg city official Ronny Krug said some 200 people were wounded, 41 of whom had either serious or critical injuries, meaning the death toll could increase. Demonstrators supporting and opposing South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol held rival protests several hundred meters apart in Seoul yesterday, a week after he was impeached over his short-lived declaration of martial law. Yoon's presidential powers are suspended, but he remains in office. He has not complied with various summonses by authorities investigating whether martial law, which he declared late on 3rd December and rescinded hours later, constituted insurrection. He has also not responded to attempts to contact him by the Constitutional Court, which decides whether to remove him from office or restore his presidential powers. The court plans to hold its first preparatory hearing on Friday. Yoon had cited claims of election hacking and anti-state pro-North Korean sympathizers as justification for imposing the martial law, which the National Election Commission has denied. Tens of thousands of anti-Yoon protesters, dominated by people in their 20s and 30s, gathered around 3 p.m. local time in Gwanghwamun, while several thousand pro-Yoon protesters, chiefly older and more conservative people opposing Yoon's removal and supporting the restoration of his powers, had gathered since around midday. Coming up, Man City crisis deepens after another loss as Arsenal closes gap on Liverpool. Sad news for Man City fans, unfortunately, as Aston Villa inflicted more misery on Manchester City last night, defeating them 2-1 in the Premier League with goals from John Duran and former City forward Morgan Rogers. A rip-roaring start saw Villa almost score inside 20 seconds before Duran got the home side on the score sheet in the 16th minute when Yuri Tillemans sent a sumptuous through ball to Rogers, whose unselfish pass found Duran free to fire home. Villa Park erupted again in the 65th minute when Rogers latched onto a pass from captain John McGinn and finished with a low hard shot, leaving Guardiola to shake his head in frustration. Phil Foden pulled one back for City in injury time after a mistake by Villa's Luca Digne, Villa leapfrogged City into 5th place in the Premier League table, while Pep Guardiola's shell-shocked holders dropped provisionally to 6th and could drop as low as 9th by the end of the weekend, with their 9th loss in 12 games across all competitions. At Selhurst Park, Gabriel Jesus scored twice as Arsenal put 5 past Crystal Palace to move to within 3 points of the top of the Premier League. It took the Brazil striker's tally against the Eagles to 5 in a week, following his Carabao Cup quarter-final hat-trick on Wednesday. But there was a setback for the Gunners as Bukayo Saka limped off in the first half. Jesus scored 2 in the first half before Kai Havertz made it 3, with Gabriel Martinelli and Declan Rice adding further goals after the break. Arsenal are now 3 points behind leaders Liverpool, although they have played 2 games more. Still within the Premier League, Southampton named Ivan Urich as manager on an 18-month contract on Saturday, with the job of ensuring Premier League rivals, or rather Premier League survival, after Russell Martin was sacked earlier this month. Former Croatia midfielder Urich was previously in charge of AS Roma, but dismissed by the Syria A side in November after only 12 matches in charge following poor results. Southampton, who have 5 points from 16 matches, are without a win in their last 7 games in all competitions and stand 7 points adrift of the safety zone. They visit mid-table Fulham later tonight. It will be the first time Urich has managed outside Italy. The 49-year-old had 3 stints in charge of Genoa, where he finished his playing career, and spells at Hellas Verona and Torino, where he spent 3 seasons with mid-table finishes. Urich faces the difficult task of reviving Southampton's flailing side, with the club scoring 11 goals in 16 matches, the lowest in the league, while conceding 36. Their poor form comes at a time when Saints plans to revamp their stadium and develop the surrounding area, with CEO Phil Parsons' push for increasing revenue streams in danger of facing a setback if the club is relegated again. On to La Liga. Carlo Ancelotti warned Real Madrid's rivals Saturday that superstar striker Kylian Mbappe's adaptation period is now complete. The French forward has performed inconsistently in the Spanish capital following his summer move from Paris Saint-Germain, but has still shown flashes of the magic which mark him out as one of the best players in the world. Mbappe, 26, has 13 goals in 23 games for Real Madrid across all competitions, and Ancelotti expects many more to follow. Mbappe scored on his return from a thigh problem, as Real Madrid beat Pachuca in midweek to win the Intercontinental Cup. The forward has endured various off-field problems this season, as well as needing to find his place among the Spanish and European champions' other star names, including Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham. Joint La Liga leaders Barcelona and Atletico Madrid face each other on Saturday, with third-place Los Blancos in action on Sunday when Sevilla visit the Santiago Bernabeu. Ancelotti said the title race would go to the wire this season. Next, bakers compete in Stockholm's festive gingerbread house contest. A Squid Game boat floated along a river in Thailand on Friday as Netflix launched a second series of the hit show. The world's largest Young-hee doll was paraded as part of a promotion for the upcoming season of Squid Game along the Chao Phraya River in the capital Bangkok. The doll floated from 20th to 21st December, drumming up interest for the new show. Actor Geoffrey Giuliano, who played VIP4 in Series 1, said the only thing missing from the boat was a giant blow-up doll of VIP4's backside, as that was the most iconic scene of the show. Footage shows the sculpture dressed in an orange skirt, a yellow shirt, and high-knee socks, standing on a watercraft with the words Netflix Squid Game 2 displayed alongside dozens of the workers wearing red bodysuits aboard the boat. The doll was then stationed at Icon Siam's pier for 9 days from 23rd December to 2nd January next year, except for 31st December. Squid Game 2 is set to premiere on 26th December. The South Korean Netflix series, released in 2021, depicts a deadly competition where contestants play children's games for a large cash prize. The show's creator, Hwang Don-hyuk, based the idea on his own economic struggles, as well as the class disparity in South Korea and capitalism. It became Netflix's most watched series and the most watched program in 94 countries. Bakers and designers cooked up elaborate gingerbread houses as part of an annual festive competition in Stockholm's Artes Museum early this week. Many entries were based around the theme of comeback, chosen by the museum, and they ranged from gingerbread cottages decorated with sweets and icing to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and a concert by Oasis, who announced they would be holding a reunion tour in 2025.
It's a very special exhibition for us. It's been here since 1990. We had it 32 times. Last year we were closed to rebuild Artes, and now we have reopened the museum. And it's a very special exhibition because it gives everyone the possibility to build their own home.
Visitors queued to take a look at the entries, snapping pictures on phones of the elaborate gingerbread constructions. The People's Choice Award, selected by visitors to the museum who voted for their favorite entry, was given to a group who baked a miniature version of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, detailed with coloring icing and candy. Mexicans are striving to preserve the Christmas tradition of posadas, a religious festival around Christmas during which children hit piñatas with a stick. Las Posadas is a celebration that lasts 9 days between 16th and 24th December. During the festival, children hit piñatas, which are colorful, handmade paperboard containers. The custom dates back to the 1500s, when Augustinian friars introduced the piñata during masses leading up to Christmas. Piñatas traditionally take on the form of a sphere with 7 spiky cones, each of which represents a deadly sin. Hitting the piñata is symbolic of delivering a blow against sin, with the added advantage of breaking it for the candy stored within to spill out. In the Mexican town of Ocolman, material shortages due to a decline in newspaper production have proven to be a challenge for piñata workshops, causing their numbers to decline.
Estamos en una posada porque es importante, ya que los chavos de ahora ya no conocen las costumbres, las tradiciones, y es bonito que siga porque se están perdiendo.
Despite these challenges, efforts continue to promote this cultural heritage. These include contests and prizes for the nicest piñatas and educating the younger generation about these customs. And that concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, former Assad forces officially surrender weapons to Syria ruling authority. Till then, my name is Darryl Baptist. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching, and I'd like to wish you all a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas to all those observing. Good day.